First time swimming. Good girl.
Girl, you're getting it.
Hey guys, another day. I've committed to doing this. I don't know which day it is. I think it's day 4. Feeling much more comfortable. There's definitely, my heart doesn't start to beat before each video anymore. So yeah, that's a good sign. Probably got way too much sun today. We're still at the campground. My daughter had a little bit of a birthday party thing with her grandfather, because it's his birthday on Monday. So they came down and hung out for the day, and my son was here for the morning, my oldest boy, before he left with his dog, so, and his girlfriend, and they're headed back to go to work and stuff. Yeah, it's been a great day. I had 3 swims in the ocean already. Went for a boat ride with my brother-in-law on his handmade boat. It was really cool. And I just got back. I'm still soaked. Soggy shorts as I sit here and do this video. So we're going to get right to it. And I guess I finished off yesterday explaining, how I had the mini awakening and the full 3-day awakening, and then the soul boot camp. And then I went into how I was going to try to do some practical steps, or give some practical steps. But I think I'm going to have to explain what consciousness is, or at least how I perceive of it, because I genuinely feel at this level of existence, it's nearly impossible to actually comprehend it completely. But I have a good grasp on it, I feel, and I feel like it was given to me. So again, by my higher self. Like, to what end, for what purpose, I'm not sure. But explaining it is a whole different game. So here it goes. The Matrix, consciousness. What is all this? Why are we here? What is this? What are we doing? Like, I call it a play. I call it an illusion, and I firmly believe that the universe is running an experiment, essentially, to see what it's like to live in each and every single one of these bodies and situations, and feel these different lack, and because on the other side you don't have lack. There's no waiting. There's none of these physical feelings that we get down here, like the taste of chocolate, and all of this stuff. This makes this place wonderful, but also terrible at the same time. So so that's what I think is going on. And then it's basically an elaborate illusion, or matrix. I don't know what to call it, but it's a video game. It'd be even better. It's designed to fool us. So you're essentially an immortal being. Your soul never dies. You exist on the other side, or above, or there is no above or other side, by the way. But for the purpose of trying to conceptualize this, I'll say up and down, higher, lower, not good or bad. So we're sitting inside this game designed by God, and trying to forget. We take a veil of silence so that we don't understand that what we're in, so we can be immortal beings who can experience what it feels like to have mortality. We don't. I mean, the body that is Jason will eventually die, but my soul will continue on, and more than likely reincarnated somewhere else. Hopefully a much more pleasant place next time. But in saying that, there are, from what I've seen, a few little glitches in the Matrix, and a few little places that hint that is what it is. There's a few little scientific things and experiments that that really are hard to explain in any other way, in my opinion. For example, the double slit experiment. Like, double slit experiment, Cole's notes, is essentially, it's an experiment set up with a conscious observer. And with the conscious observer, as I understand it, you're shining light through two slits and then onto a piece of paper. And when someone's looking at it, or when it's being observed, the light is distributed as particles. When no one's looking at it, it appears as if it's a wave. Why? Why in God's name, literally, would that happen? It's as if the computer system is trying to save RAM space and not rendering the particles when no one's looking at it. That's the way I see it. You can go also with this. It's the placebo effect, quantum entanglement. We'll go with that first. Two particles get entangled, whatever that means in physics terminology, but they get entangled so that they basically exist as one particle. And if you separate the particles by an unlimited amount of distance, and you affect one particle, the other particle responds in the same way. It's a glitch. It's a glitch. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance because it didn't make any sense. It makes no sense. Like, what do you mean? Their distance has to affect things. In the billiard ball style of explanation of the universe, it gets really weird when you go down to these quantum levels. The placebo effect. People always write this off as no big deal. A placebo effect. Think about what's happening there. The conscious observer is physically changing their own health because they think it's going to work. The consciousness is affecting the body, the matter, and just by thought alone is healing it. Because it's a sugar pill. That's doing nothing, right? And people dismiss that. Like, it's no big deal. How in the hell do you explain that? It makes no sense. How can something, the mind, which is supposed to be produced from physical matter, these brainwaves and these thoughts, is produced from the physical matter, is affecting the physical matter? These aren't physical. How do they affect physical matter? So that's three of the big ones that I can think of. There's a bunch more. And in my opinion, the only way to explain this is it's reaching the limitations of the illusion. Like, what is matter? What is matter? We know what matter is, sort of. It's hard, right? Okay. If you say so. If you look at an atom, just as plain old simple atom with a proton, neutron, and electron, and 99.99, probably more than that, % of that is empty space. And the electron exists as a probability field spinning around the proton and neutron in the center of the atom. And if you go to string theory, as far as I understand it, it tries to describe what an electron is, and it describes it as different oriented vibrating strings of energy. So this tiny little particle of mass, which they call the electron, is vibrating strings of energy. So it's all energy, right? So it's mind-boggling when you start to really think about this. And if everything is energy, I forgot about the as above, so below, as within, so without. This is attributed to Hermes, who wrote the Emerald Tablets, which was like the origin tablet for Egypt. supposedly came from Atlantis, and that's a whole different topic. But what it's interpreted to mean is, if you look at things on a macro scale and super macro scale, this like a galaxy spinning, and you compare it to the ratios of a hurricane on the Earth, or a land snail's shell shape, or a solar system with an atom, the ratios are basically the same. It's insanely a big coincidence if it's not designed that way. So it scales up and down. So the laws of the universe are universal, up and down in size. And yet nobody did this. This just happens to be the case, you know. So, in my opinion, matter doesn't matter. It's energy. And if it's energy, it has a frequency too. Every form of energy has a frequency, and this is energy coagulated down enough that we can touch it and use it as matter. Another good way to look at this is wait, I'll get ahead of myself. The frequencies are the lowest here on planet Earth. So it's the coagulated version. That's why we can feel things and everything's better. But as you go up frequency, raise your vibration, as they say in the consciousness speak and the New Agey speak, which I totally agree with. If you raise your frequency up, you ascend the frequencies. And when you get high enough, you're in heaven. And there's limits to what someone at this frequency can see. But if you raise your vibrations high enough, you'll be able to see more. You'll be able to do more. Maybe you can affect matter. If you can placebo affect your own health without even knowing what you're doing, if you knew what you were doing, what could you do? And this, if you look at R.J. Spina's work, this is essentially what he's talking about. It's called Ascend the Frequencies healing technique, and it's very powerful. And I completely agree with his. If you want to understand more about like the structure of heaven and how the frequencies go up and down and what it looks like and feels like, read his stuff. He knows it in and out, and it's, well, just look at it and you'll see what I mean. But he healed himself from a catastrophic spinal injury by doing this, just using his mind. So if everything is energy, including matter, and it's all vibrating at different frequencies, then the soul is what we would consider pure energy frequency of us. And as you come down, it gets thicker and thicker and colder until you're in the body. And it's a very limited little sliver of the higher self, but it's all connected in one continuous column of energy. So I like to equate it to like ice, water, and steam. When you're an energy body and you're in heaven, you're steam. And as you coagulate down and you force your consciousness into an ever tighter and tighter filter, it gets colder and colder, and you get water, and then you get ice, where we are right now. So to gain enlightenment is to thaw yourself or to raise your frequency up as much as you can. So I promised I would talk about like a practical thing that you could do. So what can you do? So the first thing I was compelled to do when I had my awakening was get rid of every plastic thing in my house. Especially things that I ate off of or used to cook with. I was compelled to do it. I threw it all out. Amanda was losing her crap. because I was throwing out all this stuff, and I spontaneously replaced it with wooden and stainless steel and any cooking thing that had Teflon on it, and anything. Silicone, is by chance, seemed to be okay for me. And then I wanted to understand why that was the case. But so, like I said, I was compelled to do it. I didn't eat. It's not like I thought this out. It's like my higher self told me, get rid of that stuff. It's killing you. So I threw all this stuff out and I replaced it. And then I researched what's the difference between silicone and Teflon. And you'd be quite surprised the difference. It's silicone. It's a natural material, first of all, but they react silicon with methyl chloride and then water, and then they remove the chlorine atom using a water process. So no high temperatures, nothing like this. It's essentially a natural material, and it's so much superior to the other stuff. I don't know why we wouldn't use it, right? And then you have polytetrafluoroethylene, otherwise known as Teflon, which is a combination of 4 different items: chloroform, hydrochloric acid, and it's heated to 1500 degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit. I'm not sure. So which one's closer to being a natural material? So anyway, my point is, all of this unnatural things we have in our homes, all our cleaners, all our chemicals, all the stuff we wash ourselves with, all the poisons on our food and pesticides, all the fluoride in our toothpaste, which clogs up your third eye, by the way. It all serves to lower your vibrational frequency overall as a being. It gets in the way. It plugs up the system. It with all of this crap in our bodies and on our bodies and in our environments that we're breathing in, including like petrochemicals from like automobiles. You'll see I'm in a Tesla here. I can't be around the exhaust fumes from from your internal combustion engine. It kills me. I can feel my throat closing, and that happened after my awakening spontaneously. I could no longer be around any of this stuff. So we've had to like drastically change our lives and get rid of all this stuff out of the house. I can't have it in the house. I tried to clean the bathroom one time with this all-natural cleaner. It's supposedly all natural. It didn't have that many ingredients, and I sprayed the bathtub with the stuff, and I barely made it out of the bathroom because my nose was bleeding, and I was like asphyxiating myself. So I had to go to Dr. Broden's pretty much for everything. I wash myself with that, and I can use it for shampoo. I use it for shaving. I use it for everything. Even his toothpaste. And it's the best stuff that I could find. I'm sure there's other stuff in it, but it's an affordable option. And, like one of my favorite things that my oldest son, Aiden, told me was that, it's a stat that he likes to say quite often, is that the average adult has the credit card's worth of plastic in their body. What's that doing to inhibit the function of your cells? Think about when that's in your brain cells, your liver cells, your lungs, everywhere. And that's not the only thing that we have in our environment. So the first thing you can do to try to spontaneously awaken, or to at least help the process along, is to get rid of as much unnatural, toxic chemicals out of your immediate environment. Then if you want to add stuff in, organic food is obviously a better option. It's not going to have the glyphosate, which is essentially Roundup, which they spray on every form of wheat in North America. I can't eat bread anymore in this place unless it's organic. And I've had to give up dairy. I've had to drastically change what I'm eating because my body has become so sensitive since the awakening. So it's so sensitive, I feel, because it doesn't want me. My higher self doesn't want me to drop my frequency. So if I can't put this stuff in my body or in my environment, my frequency can't go down. So that would be the first recommendation, very first. you have nothing to lose with this, by the way, and it isn't that expensive to do. You just have to be a little bit creative and conscious of what you're doing when you make your purchases. So, on a slightly opposite note, if there's something you want to add to your environment, if everything is energy, then anything that someone puts energy into is going to have a higher vibration. Anyone that puts their conscious intention into a material while they're making it is going to raise the vibration of that material. So a handmade mug, there's something about this. There's handmade spoons. You've added them, these handmade materials and stuff. They add energy to your environment. There's something that feels better about drinking tea out of a handmade mug. I don't care what anyone says. So, again, that also goes to clothing. So you'll always see me in cotton and wool and no synthetic materials if I can avoid it. I mean, there's certain things you just can't avoid. Like this entire car is made out of plastic on the inside. So, but, you know, baby steps, right? So start there and see how much better you feel. If you do what I suggest, I highly recommend it, and you will feel better. So I think that's where I'll leave it for today. And again, I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about tomorrow, but I'm sure it'll come to me because that's how this has been going. So I've actually been getting dreams like about future videos and different things. So I don't know what's coming next, but it'll be good. So anyway, I hope this finds you all well. Love you all, and we'll see you tomorrow.